Hi, this is Jack Siegel. I'm currently doing a video log for books that I am reading or I've read with the objective of being here as a sort of repository for future training of employees or entrepreneurs in my line of business or businesses. Or at least that's what I would say. Hopefully there's some benefit here, and obviously feedback is always appreciated. Keep it clean, keep it nice, keep it constructive. Anyway, looking at Peter Drucker's Innovation and Entrepreneurship, which I probably already butchered the title. Again, this is my first attempt at a video for, no, actually I tried doing The Richest Man in Babylon. I guess this is just meant as a starting on a path towards personal growth and development, and this arena specifically, just having something that can be used to help people in their training and development. For example, like, hey, like, I read this book, did I actually get what I was supposed to get out of it? And you know, I may find that I have issues with analyzing, and yet when I listen to someone else or vice versa, the thing is that I might get more out of it than I would have just by simply reading or just studying the material. So ideally, I look back over this a month, a year, a decade later and say I was retarded or I've gotten better. So, entrepreneurship and management. So I'm going to break this down to 3 sections. One is, well, probably edit the video down to where the 3 sections are individually segmented for one, to say, hey, is this something that I should be reading in the first place? To ideally just a very general summary of the information, which is aimed to be about 25 minutes, and a full-blown summary, which may take 2 hours. I'm not sure. Again, for example, Drucker is very, very dense. Robert Kiyosaki, for example, Rich Dad Poor Dad, is something that you could probably sum up fairly quickly and adequately, and you get the actual meat of it. I'm sure you can do that with Drucker if you're a porter, or Drucker, or if you had a very strong background in business and economics. Me, was originally studying biology in college, never completed the degree, though I do want to go back into the field. But I did want to learn business because I want to do stuff on my own, or at least get the funding to do stuff on my own. So Drucker I've found to be really awesome, very methodical, very like, hey, this is very useful information that even though this book specifically, Innovation and Entrepreneurship, was written in the 80s, it still seems to be rather effective, at least in terms of its principles. I've gotten in, I tend to listen to the books. I have an issue sitting down and physically reading them. So my path going forward, I'm going to be both reading and, well, probably more skimming through it and listening to it, ideally doing a book a day, 5 days a week. For example, Drucker on the PDF reader I'm currently using is about 8 hours, I believe. The physical book is about 200 pages, but it seems to be very good, dense material. A lot of examples to support his point, and they make enough sense to be like, okay, this seems useful. So coming back in 37 seconds, we find that he breaks it down into 3 different things. For example, remind me to go over my notes first before I do this. Systematic entrepreneurship. The thing is that when we think of entrepreneurs, we think that it's taking something wholly new and doing something pretty incredible with it. He says that it's more like you can just take any idea and you apply modern management methodology to it to produce a certain outcome. The example being, for example, Ray Kroc and McDonald's. The thing is that fast food was more, seemed like they were winging it. Mom and pop shop would open up and they would hope for the best. Today's equivalent might be the taco carts. I live in Southern California, San Bernardino right now, and you will see this on a evening and see all these taco carts pop up, and originally it's just a cart where they would just cook it right there on the griddle, and then they expanded out to more elaborate displays and even started to bunch together. And so it's pretty interesting watching the beginning of an economic kind of thing going. I'm sure there's better things to say than that. It kind of makes me think about the bazaar, and like then you have the swap meets, and it's just cool watching people being able to just run with an idea and see if that can help them break out of where they're at. Applying Drucker in that case, it may be taking a look at everything from management principles to like, okay, well, how do we best allocate our resources to produce a certain outcome? In this case, the taco cart vendor might be, is this the best item or commodity that I can sell? Or as a person right across the street is saying, she wants to do a hamburger cart, which is actually pretty cool. She actually brought over a plate yesterday, and I teased her a few days ago that I would eat the hamburger if she made it. I'm vegetarian, so somehow I seem to be the weird one that can eat like at least a small hamburger and not throw up. There's some other stories to it, which someday I'll tell, but the whole thing is that one aspect with innovation is that you can have a great idea, but if you don't have a way to execute it properly, then it's just going it's going up and blah. I think he mentions Thomas Edison, and a few other people in different books mention Thomas Edison being a guy that had great ideas, but without modern management, he would not have actually been able to take the idea and make it into what it was, or could be, or what it became. So understanding that entrepreneurship can take an idea, and if you systematize it and marry it together, you can do this constantly, time and time again. And he goes over that. For example, I'm about two and a half hours in of, I haven't been sleeping well this week, so I started zoning out with material. So I kind of gave up on trying to listen after 2.5 hours, especially trying to re-listen to the material at almost 500 words per minute, which if you listen to it on Audible or YouTube, it's probably a similar speed. But if you just listen to it, it's va, 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 va. So it's more like mental skimming. So between looking at it written and also listening to it, it's Nell Ferguson, and I think the book was called West and the Rest. It's looking at how China in specifically China was 500 years earlier, way more advanced with several technological improvements, a massive civilization, yet 500 years later, it was the West that dominated, and they're just now catching up. Now, mind you, Nell Ferguson maybe wrote that in the 90s or early 2000s, but where was I going with this? If this part makes it into the final edit, just remember that you can have a vision and have something really amazing, but it takes work to refine it. And so ideally 100 days into doing this, or 100 times doing this is going to be much more refined. And doing a daily, like, hey, I listen, I read, and produce an output, to work on my own skills of teaching, to work on my own skills of outlining and study, to help bring together the material in such a way that a student, impromptu, or a student of life, or any sort of person who's listening to this and looking at the material that they have personally been going over, be like, oh, okay, I remember that point. Awesome, kudos. Now I don't have to actually write the whole thing out. And if it's on YouTube, you can speed it up to twice the speed. And ideally, it kind of sparks the memory again to reinforce it, and maybe also bring up some new ideas that may help you in your business, or just put a seed in there that may grow into something else later. It's really disconcerting realizing that the camera's right there, but the video finder's right there. And so I look at myself right there. That's why I look off slightly right there. It's kind of fun. Okay,